All right, guys, let's do another 10-minute Tuesday. And this week I want to talk a little bit about traveling to hunt, especially because for a lot of guys in the Midwest, it's kind of getting to that time of the year where things get a little bit sad.
Yeah.
You know, waterfowl season is kind of coming to a close. And not waterfowl season necessarily, but duck season for sure. You know, a lot of us, at least in Minnesota, we're still hunting geese until close to the end of December. So yes, there's still birds to hunt. It just all changes. And obviously late season is some of my favorite time of the year to hunt geese. There's nothing cooler than like a blizzard hunt for a goose. That's amazing. But I want to talk a little about traveling. I think it's something that as you go through your waterfowl hunting career, you get excited about being able to go different places and see what the birds are like in those different places and being able to experience the different weather and the hunting environments and the, the different, I think like outside of just ducks, but like the wildlife you'll see, like even when we went to Canada this year and you're seeing like,
Elk
one
moose.
night, Matt and I went out and we were coming back to the spot that we were staying at and we saw like 20 elk and we saw a muley deer. We saw a white-tailed deer. We saw a moose.
Yep.
And about every species of waterfowl you can think of, like all on this one drive. I mean, I told Matt the only thing we're missing now is a bear, and we didn't see one. But yeah, moose, everything. I think that is the coolest part for me about duck hunting and goose hunting is just being able to go and see it other places. Another thing that's really big about it is you learn so much going to other places because the birds are different and the way that people hunt them is different. So something that might seem completely weird to you is totally normal to them, and it's a useful technique for shooting birds. And I think that's the craziest thing to me is when I go somewhere and they'll like be setting up and you would never set a decoy spread like this.
No, it's just crazy that if you're hunting the same flyway, you could be hunting the same birds.
Yeah.
But you hunt them completely different in the other location. It's crazy.
Yeah. I will never forget too, like, I will never forget going to Idaho.
Yep.
And how close we were setting decoys to the.
Thought they were insane.
I was like, this is nuts. You can't even see these, dude.
Yeah.
Like, insane. But sure enough, absolutely works.
Oh yeah.
You know, and it's just crazy because every place you'll go, you will pick something up from somebody that you have hunted with 10 times, or this is the first time you're hunting with him. You're going to see him do something different. I've seen Wade do stuff different, and he's a weird dude.
Yeah.
But not really. Love you, Wade. I think what I wanted to say about a few things I want to kind of talk about with this is don't be afraid to go and try something new.
Do it.
Do it, man. Just go out there and do it. Whether you're going to hire a guide or you're going to go to a place and freelance, I think the biggest thing you should know is do your research, right? Don't just go into a place blind because you heard there's a lot of people shooting ducks there, but don't be afraid to go either. You know, just look it up, try to learn about it, see what your opportunities are. There are places I would not recommend people going for the first time on a trip, and there's places that I don't know if I'd recommend people going on a trip maybe ever, depending on how much you hunt. Like, I don't think that your average Joe waterfowl hunter, and there's nothing wrong with being an average Joe waterfowl hunter, but probably don't go and take your, like, Minnesota boat down to the, Bayou Mita and try and shoot a bunch of birds. I wouldn't do that if I was you. I think it's going to suck if you do that. But there's a lot of places around the country that you can go and hunt birds. And it's very funny to me because I'll see like all these posts from dudes from the South that like go to North Dakota and they're like, so easy to shoot birds out there. I can't believe it. Yeah, but you guys have mallards the day you open.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a totally different mentality. And you can learn something going everywhere. But going around and experiencing these places, there are a lot of places in this country you can go. You don't have to spend a mortgage or 2 payments to get somebody to help you. You can go freelance.
Take a drive.
Take a drive, man. There's a lot of places in this country that you can take a drive. An 8-hour or less drive for most people in the country gets them somewhere that they can freelance hunt and have some success. And I think that no matter what happens, even if you show up in that location and you don't go and shoot a bunch of birds, you will have those moments where you pick up on things, seeing the way that birds react and the differences in them. If you're there for the right reasons, if you're there to have a good time, just get a good group of buddies together and keep it small. Just find dudes that want to go out and grind and just have a good time.
Yeah, I had a group of buddies that went out traveling for the first time a couple of years back now. Just like their first travel trip out of Minnesota for hunting.
Yeah.
They basically treated it as like a scouting trip.
Yeah.
Like they didn't care how many birds they shot. They just got info about the region. Next year they went back and smacked them because they went the year before, and then they could go back. They had no worries about it, and they just killed them.
It's actually really interesting that you said that, because one of my biggest points to make is if you do go on a trip like this, if you take that drive, I would just plan on the first full day that you're there, no matter what, you're definitely scouting that day. The full day.
Yep.
You know, I think a lot of people show up, and I've hunted with people, they show up and then you tell them you're not hunting until Wednesday and it's a Monday, and people are like, what do you mean we're not hunting tomorrow? Well, dude, there's no guide.
Yeah.
We have to go find these birds. Sometimes when, you know, we've gone out to Canada, North Dakota, different Wisconsin, different places, it's like a day and a half. You know, maybe 2 days. Like you might be burning a day or two. So plan your trip in accordance with that. Don't plan a 3-day trip to a state that's 6 hours away and expect to get out there and smack them.
Yep.
You know, go for 5-6 days, plan it out, take the vacation, and then get there, scout for a full day, and then go from there. Another thing I wanted to bring up too is I think a lot of people, they've never flown with a gun. And so a lot of people are kind of timid to get on a plane or to try to go somewhere to hunt when they need to fly with a gun. It is not as hard as you think it is.
No.
It's not a scary situation at all. You go in, and we have a video that explains how to do it. And that's obviously gotten some hate because a lot of people think they know everything about the law and how it works. And if you do it your way, you do it your way, dude. But if you go watch our video, I've done it that way a bunch of times, and it's totally fine. That way works.
No headaches.
No headaches. And usually, man, like, they're totally cool about it. Like, they've obviously, you know, the airlines fly guns, guys. Like,
you're not the first gun.
You're not the first guy coming through there with a gun. Yeah. It is crazy to me that some of the places you have like so many steps of security, and then some of these like smaller airports you get to, they just like throw your gun on the wheel, you know, that comes out, and you just pick it up off there. Other places you have like, you know, ID checks and a background check before you can even take your gun out of there. So that's kind of crazy. But again, man, don't be afraid to go and travel. And another thing you can do too, I think a lot of guys, you know, if you are interested in hiring a guide, you can certainly go the route of getting a guide that has the lodging and the place to stay, and the, you know, the meals are all included. You can do that. But there are also a lot of places you can go where you can show up, get your own Airbnb, and just pay the daily gun fee.
Yep.
You know, you can go to other states, you can get a guide who just does gun fees, and you can just go out, get an Airbnb, do your own thing for all your meals, and then still have somebody, if you're paying $150 to $300 a day for a gun, if you're only going to go on a 3-day trip, that's the way to go.
Yeah. Or even if you don't want to bring your own stuff, you can rent equipment too at some of these guide services.
That's true. 100%. But that said, you know, you're taking that like $3,000 or $4,000 trip, you know, that in your head is so expensive, and you're getting an Airbnb for $1,000 split 5 ways, and you're paying $200 a day for the gun rate. And yet now that trip is, if you can drive there, it's $1,000 trip.
Yep.
You know, if you have to fly there, it might be a $1,500 trip, but it's not like it's that unaffordable in a lot of these senses to go to these places and still get a guide, where if you're only going to do like, this is one of my favorite things lately too, is like if you're doing like a 3-day trip, you can fly in, you know, and hunt the next day with a guide. No, you don't have to scout for that.
Yep.
You know, so if you're going to do these things, I think that there's obviously the group of people that tells you like, oh, it's not as cool if you're not going to find him yourself and shoot him, you know, public or freelance or whatever. Man, go and experience it.
Yeah.
You know, there's
Absolutely.
nothing wrong with getting a guide, taking a plane, leaving on a Monday night, hunting Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and flying home Thursday afternoon.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with that. You're going to have a great time, and you're going to get to experience it. And a lot of the time, like, you know, you could hire a guide for part of the time. Like it's funny too, because it's like fishermen look at it somehow differently. Mm-hmm. My dad and my brothers will go to, you know, Mexico, and they'll hire a guide for 1 day.
Yeah.
But then they're still fishing like the other 3 days, you know?
Yep.
They just walk in, and they might not be as successful, but
Get the local knowledge.
Yeah,
one
man,
day.
just like go with the one guide and kind of hear what he does, see what kind of flies he's tying, just figure out how he's casting at these fish and what he's trying to do with them. And yeah, man, that gives you kind of a leg up. You know, you could go to these places, you could hire a guide for one day and kind of get a feel for what they do there. And then if you want from there, you could spend the time freelancing and hunting.
Yeah.
But people it seems like people don't do that with hunting. And I understand the commitment to finding where to go. But I think I just want to encourage you guys, especially from the north, extend your season.
For sure.
Go to Kansas, you know, go to Missouri and get a guide for a day, you know, go to Texas, like go see the rest of the country. It's an awesome way to do it. And especially for people with families, get an Airbnb, bring your family with you, get a guide for a couple days, do a couple days of hunting, do a couple days with the family. Seems like we see it a lot with fishermen.
Yeah.
But maybe we need to start seeing it more with hunters.
We should.
Thanks for listening, guys. We appreciate it. Anything you guys want us to talk about, make sure to just send us a message, and we'll try to bring it up on these 10 Minute Tuesday podcasts. We appreciate you for listening. We'll talk to you soon.